Welcome everyone to our April monthly webinar as part of our annual monthly webinar series. This webinar is enhancing your advising practice among unique groups of students. Effective counseling and advising practices should always include, of course, strategies, guidance, and support for all populations of students, especially those with barriers to educational achievement. Today, we'll learn a little bit about key information, tools, and resources that support your school and your district level systems in breaking down barriers that prevent these students from reaching their intended goals. We have some great information from Texas OnCourse in our resource spotlight today, and also some wonderful information from the Texas Workforce Commission that covers how to help these students plan for post-secondary training, as well as career planning and career options. As many of you know who join our webinars, everything we do comes with this in mind. With Texas OnCourse, all Texas students, no matter where they come from or where they're headed, have a plan for success after high school. So we always send out a link to the recording to everyone that has attended. You can, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, the recording that we send out is going to be posted on YouTube, and we follow up with an email. But take a minute and subscribe to that YouTube channel. That way you can get updates, notifications, search by topic, and you'll get notifications on when we post new videos and things like that. And so that link is right there for you. And just a couple of things regarding our webinars. Of course, we're recording and we send out that recording to everyone that's registered. We have several hundred people, and we do understand that not everyone can join live. So we send that out to everyone that's registered. Upcoming webinars and recordings are also posted on our webpage, and that link is there. If you go to the Educator tab from texasoncourse.org, we have webinars and our monthly webinar series, and all of that information is on our site. So just to quickly cover our agenda for this morning, we have saved an hour for our webinar. So just have a quick welcome so you get to know who's joining us this morning. And then Samantha Gonzalez, who's Assistant Director for Content and Resources here at the Texas OnCourse team, is going to talk a little bit about the resources we have to spotlight within our academy and any other resources that we have developed. And then we have Alyssa Key from the Texas Workforce Commission, who's joining us to talk a little bit about transition resources and all of the things that TWC has to offer that you can use in your counseling and advising practice to support these students. And of course, we'll have time for question and answers and to talk a little bit about practices that you all have in the field and any information that we would like to share. So I want to say thank you all for joining us this morning. We know it's a very, very busy time of year. My name's Laura Guggen. I've been part of the monthly webinar series for several years now, and I work, I'm the Director of Program Implementation at Texas OnCourse, and we are housed at the Higher Education Coordinating Board. Samantha?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Samantha Gonzalez, the Assistant Director of Content and Resources over at Texas OnCourse, and I oversee a team of subject matter experts where we support the content development and maintenance of Texas OnCourse products.
Great. Alyssa?
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Alyssa Key. I'm with Texas Workforce Commission under the Vocational Rehabilitation Division, and I am on our statewide transition team, so a team comprised of individuals who work on all things transition, career exploration, post-secondary, and everything to do with getting these kiddos ready for adulthood.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Alyssa. We appreciate it. So before we start covering some of the information, we usually like to check in with our attendees to see what groups of students do you work with at your campus. So if there's any, our districts look very different, and sometimes even different campuses within the same district. We have students that have just very specific, unique needs. So if you have any specific students, maybe they're highly mobile, maybe you have lots of first generation students, if you could just let us know in the chat box what types of students are at your campus, that's really helpful for us. I see lots of different things, non-traditional, 14 to 22, exclusively first gen, 9th through 12th grade, migratory high school students, ESL, great, that's really helpful. So we will definitely, I think, cover some resources that can help those populations that you all are referring to. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Samantha, who's going to spotlight some of the Academy resources we have.
Perfect. I will be spotlighting the Texas OnCourse Academy. And so for those on the webinar new to Texas OnCourse, the Academy is our online professional learning resource for college and career advising. It is free for all Texas educators and will help you prepare any student for any post-secondary option. To get to the Academy through our website, you just simply click on the tools drop-down menu and select Texas OnCourse Academy. And then on that page, you click educator login to create your free account. Today, we'll be spotlighting the transition services for students with disabilities module. And to locate this module within the Academy dashboard, you will click on the specialties transition advising content area. And then to get started with the module, you just click view module. And I can also share a direct link to the module itself just for easier access in the chat. Okay. So in this module, you'll get critical knowledge to help your students with disabilities get ready for life after high school with career exploration and workplace preparation. In particular, in this module, we dive deep into pre-employment transition services or pre-TS and how to explain those activities to students and their families. We also cover strategies for supporting the transition of these students and how to connect them with disability services on college campuses, as well as with vocational rehabilitation counselors who can provide further transition support. So we know it takes a village to ensure our students have everything they need to feel prepared for their next steps. However, not everyone may be aware of all the services that are available or the eligibility requirements to programs that offer disability services. The transition services module provides this information in addition to handouts like the ones you see on screen that can be shared with students to help them understand the programs that can support them. It can also be shared with their families to ensure they understand how they can be involved, and then as well as being shared with your colleagues. Pre-TS is a vocational rehabilitation program for eligible students, and the required activity examples handout you see on screen helps explain the required counseling of this vocational rehabilitation program. So it just helps provide a breakdown for just easier information to provide students, and then the difference between IEPs and 504 plans handout compares the two and how they each support K-12 students. As some of you may have already heard, we are getting ready to launch a tool for parents and guardians of students in 8th grade all the way to 12th grade that will provide the information needed to support their students every step of the way. One of the action plans or content area is all about adult living, and adult living includes information on a variety of topics for all students, such as social skills, healthy habits, self-advocacy, community awareness, and much, much more. We're pretty excited about this tool. Within the adult living action plan, we include resources that are differentiated by grade level to meet students where they are. The resources also vary. Some of them will include a breakdown of the information shared in the tool, or they can be activities parents and guardians can do with their students to support the development of key skills as they transition from grade to grade. And I will hand it over to Alyssa.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm Alyssa Key. I am the program specialist for transition. And today we're going to be talking about transition services. So if we can go to the next slide. Perfect. So just a little overview, talking about what is vocational rehabilitation. And so this is, of course, a statewide program, and the purpose is to help people with disabilities obtain and maintain employment that's consistent with their strengths, interests, abilities, and aptitudes. So really all that makes them them. Our services are eligibility based and tailored to the individual. So we do everything considering the unique needs of every person that comes through for our services. Our services are not emergency services. And so these things that we need to plan out and takes a little bit of time. But with that in mind, there is no limit in terms of time. So we will work with an individual, including students, as long as the services are needed. But we're not intended to be a long-term service. And so what that means is if someone comes through, our goal is to get them to a point that they're feeling more confident, able to kind of take things on themselves, and so support them in that. That doesn't mean that they can't come back at any point in time. So once they reach that goal, whether it's graduating college or finding a job, they can always come back to us. But we're not intended to have their case open with us for a lifetime. And then, of course, the services are arranged and provided by vocational rehabilitation counselors, or VRC as what we call them, again, with consideration for the individual choice. And so we do have kind of a subset of vocational rehabilitation services, which we call our transition services, that serves in Texas, ages 14 through 22. And these services are specifically designed to help students with disabilities move from a high school setting to successful work and independent living. And this does include things like exploring post-secondary opportunities. And VR provides transition services to students while they're in high school. So that way they're prepared when they exit. And so the ideal time to refer is at age 14. So that way we can really explore different opportunities with the students, and they feel a lot more confident come graduation or exiting high school. And again, the vocational rehabilitation services are available after high school. There's no age limit on our services. They would just move into our general services, the general subset. Next slide, please. And so we do have some specific categories that cater to students, and that is what we call our pre-employment transition services, or pre-ETS. And those categories fall into 5 different ones. The first one is career exploration counseling. So we help students make informed choices about various job opportunities and really explore what opportunities are out there and what's going to be the best fit for them. There's also work-based learning opportunities and experiences, which we try to provide both in a school setting if possible, as well as after school work opportunities. And so however we can help support that student in learning about work and what it means to be on a work site. There's also job readiness training, and that kind of focuses on the soft skills. So the social skills, independent living, really talking about work without all those hands-on tasks, but how do you prepare for work? What are the ethics of work? Things of that nature. We also have a category on counseling on post-secondary training or other comprehensive transition opportunities. So all manner of post-secondary, whether that's going to a junior college, a university, going to a technical college, looking at trade schools, vocational training. So really exploring what those all look like and what's going to be the best fit for that student. And then the last category is instruction in self-advocacy. So helping that student feel more empowered so that way they can communicate and really assert their own interests and desires and learn how to advocate for themselves. Next slide, please. So a couple of examples of services offered. So those that aren't familiar with our agency kind of get an idea of different programs that we do sponsor. We have our Summer Earn and Learn program, and that is offered every summer. It's a 5-week paid work experience that allows students to get real work experiences on a job site. They're earning a wage and they're getting to explore different careers. And so this is really a great opportunity for students to kind of dip their toes in the water of different careers that are out there in an environment that's way more supportive in terms of they're not going through the interview process. They're not really having the competition against other individuals. They're getting that ability to learn about a job site, be on a job site, and just focus on the learning aspect of it. We also have our Explore STEM camps, and these expose students to the STEM categories: science, technology, engineering, and math. And in these camps, the students will interact with STEM professionals and participate in hands-on, interactive, and accessible activities. And they also learn about post-secondary training opportunities. All of our STEM camps are offered at various universities across the state of Texas. And so it's a really great chance for students to learn about these careers, do some different activities, and really get interested in what these career paths have to offer. We do have work readiness services, and that includes our vocational adjustment training in key areas. So some of those topics include exploring the U in work, soft skills to pay the bills, disability disclosure, and money smart. So a lot of different topics and curriculum that help the students explore work and learn about work in a structured environment. And then we also have just our general work experience services that's offered year round, and that's paid or unpaid positions. And students are they're placed in a business or organization in the community to learn skills that are transferable to long-term competitive integrated employment. One thing I didn't include on this slide, but I do want to mention, is that we also do work with students that are receiving Social Security benefits or participating in other community programs, and we can help them in exploring, how am I able to work without impacting those benefits? Because I know that comes up sometimes, so I did want to mention that when we talk about paid work. We do consider things like benefits counseling to ensure that is not going to affect those benefits. Next slide, please. So where do you fit in? So every district has an assigned VR counselor, and that's every high school district has a VR counselor from Texas Workforce Solutions. And we're going to talk about that more in the next slide. That is assigned to them. And so we do have a couple different titles, and I feel it's important to overview what those titles mean. So we have, like we mentioned earlier, the Vocational Rehabilitation Counselor, or VRC. And so they typically have a general caseload. They'll work with all ages, and they are more liaisons to select districts or areas. So they might not be only working with students. They might have one district that they're working with, and then they have a general caseload or are working with a different population. Conversely, we have the Transition Vocational Rehabilitation Counselor, or TVRC, and these counselors only serve students, and they are assigned to usually several schools. And so their job primarily is to work with students and to be most familiar with the different programs and opportunities that are available to students. School staff can coordinate with our counselors to refer students. You can invite them to 504 ARD meetings and discuss different services and opportunities. So we always encourage communication. And we do, as I mentioned earlier, encourage a referral for students as young as age 14 to allow them time to participate in services offered. And so it might seem early for some, but even just getting that conversation going, maybe they just participate in a summer program, but it's at least starting that conversation and getting them more familiar with work and getting them exposed to different job sites. So that way they can identify both what they're interested in, but also it can rule out what they're not interested in. And that can be just as valuable as learning what works for you. Next slide, please. So in terms of the best way to reach out to your counselor, so you can contact your nearest Texas Workforce Solutions Vocational Rehabilitation Office. That's a mouthful, but we go by TWS VRS. And if you need assistance in locating that office, we do have a website that lists all of our office, and it has an office locator, and it'll have their phone number, their address. We also have just an email for this purpose. So we have staff that are available to answer your questions, and that's at vr.office.locator@twc.texas.gov, or you can just call, and that's 512-936-6400, and you'll be connected to a staff member that can help you identify the right office that can get you connected to one of our counselors. Next slide, please. And then, of course, we have our state office transition team. That is what I'm a member of, and you can contact us at any time. And our email address is on the screen. That's vr.pre-ets or pre-ETS at twc.texas.gov. And we have staff, including myself, that are always available just to answer any questions. So don't be shy, reach out to us and we can get you connected, or we can just answer a question about the different programs that are offered throughout the state.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alyssa.
Thank you.
We will also add some of these links and email addresses in our follow-up email as well. And so, yes, so we hope that you will access the Academy and the resource spotlight that Samantha shared, as well as reaching out with the resources shared by Alyssa from TWC. And so this is a quick webinar, but we do want to see if anyone that's attending might be able to share any improvements or things that you've put in place in your campus, within your counseling or your advising practice, or just meeting the needs of some of your students. It could be special education students or students with disabilities. Any things that you've put in place to support these students with specific needs, we would love to hear in the chat before we close out. I know I've participated in lots of ARDS and 504 meetings as well, where some of these resources are shared and connecting students and connecting parents and families to some of the resources that Alyssa covered as well. Any ideas or transition resources that you've created? Perfect. Thank you, Cindy. Extending office hours beyond 8 to 5, connecting with those that cannot meet during those times, offering evening and weekend options was highly received. Yes, we are in just an age and stage in space where everyone needs to access things usually outside of the school day, it seems. So evening and weekend or office hours seems really helpful as well. Or just changing the format or the way you share resources with students and families. Absolutely. Well, if you all can think of anything else, please, virtual appointments. That's another great example. Thank you, Holly. Shifting work hours. We're seeing lots of districts, even in their hiring processes, talking about alternative schedules and things like that. So things are definitely changing. So if you have any other ideas, feel free to put those in the chat. Compiling a list of local resources, both on campus and in the community for outreach, scholarship opportunities, food pantries. Those are great examples on sharing those resources. Absolutely. Thank you, Cindy. That's wonderful. So we will compile a list of the things that we've talked about and links and the resources that Alyssa covered and send those out. We've got some resources that are being shared in the chat as well. Case managers, connecting with college, career, and military readiness advisors, tracking students. Absolutely. These are all great ideas. Wonderful. So if there are any questions or comments, feel free to take a minute and put those in the chat or the Q&A box, and we can cover those. Wonderful. So don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will send a link out to our recording to everyone that's here and registered this morning. And thank you all so much for joining us. This was a 30-minute webinar, but hopefully you found it valuable. We'll send out the information via email. Please take care and stay healthy and safe, and have a wonderful rest of the school year. Thanks, everyone, and please reach out if you have any questions. Thank you again, Alyssa, for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.